Hey all, Pay Marine here. So got another matter of fact for you. This one will be Codex Death Guard. Now this is the version 1.1, so this is the second change since 1.0 has been out. So I'll go ahead and read through them all, and we'll see what we got changed. So looks like this one actually has a few errata and a decent amount of FAQs. Excuse me, the first errata is on page 83, Possessed. Remove demon from the faction keywords line and add demon to the keywords line. Notice that quite a few times throughout the Chaos Codex and this, kind of switching around the demons out of faction and throwing it down into the keywords line, since these are more specifically kind of Space Marine type codexes and not the demon specific, so it makes sense. And then same thing on page 85 for Plague Drones. Remove demon from the faction keyword line and add demon to the keywords line. Then we have on page 96, backing up, those two changes were both in magenta, so those are new changes since the last errata for this. Everything else here, it looks like it was here before. So, page 96, inexorable, I can't speak. Inexorable Advance. Change the first sentence of rules text to read: if your army is battle forged, all infantry and Hellbrute units and Death Guard detachments gain this ability. Okay. Page 98, Gifts of Decay. Add the following sentence: you can only use this stratagem once per battle. So the Gifts of Decay stratagem can only be used once in a game. Page 102, Units. Add the following entry: Demon Prince of Nurgle with Wings is the unit. Models 1, points per model without weapons or war gear is 170. So there's a new Demon Prince of Nurgle with Wings under page 102 for units. It doesn't really specify. I'm guessing it's a HQ or an elite or something. I'm not sure what they fall under. All right. So moving on to FAQ. So some questions. Question: for the purpose of the Psychic Focus matched play rule, is the Miasma of Pestilence psychic power from Codex Chaos Space Marines the same psychic power as in Codex Death Guard? Answered: yes. More generally, if a psychic power have the same name, they're the same psychic power for the purposes of Psychic Focus. This has been a question that came up in another FAQ matter of fact video I'd done. I can't remember if it was under. I think it was under the Demon Codex. They asked there was the same power. Is it the same as in Codex Space Marines? And yes, if it's the same name, same description, it's the same power. And therefore, if you have like an attachment of demons with some Chaos Space Marines for the purposes of Psychic Focus, they are the same power. You cannot, I guess you can't say that they're different because they're all the same. All right. Question: if my army is led by a Chaos Space Marines warlord and I have a detachment of Death Guard, can I use the Gifts of Decay Death Guard stratagem to include a relic on a Death Guard character? Alright. Answer is yes. The only requirement to have access to stratagem is that you have a detachment of the appropriate faction. If you have a Death Guard detachment, you have access to their stratagems. Okay, now that I believe I don't want people to get confused, or at least this is the way I'm interpreting that, is for sure they're saying, like, of course, you can still, if you have a detachment, you get access to those stratagems, but again, those stratagems only interact with the detachment, codex, army, whatever you want to say, that they are attached to, meaning, if he has a Chaos Space Marine as his warlord, then I'm assuming he has more than just that, so it's an actual Chaos Space Marine detachment with a detachment of Death Guard. I'm not 100% on how the codexes work with all the chaos stuff, like how interchangeable things are or are not. But that's my understanding, is in order for him to bring a Chaos Space Marine warlord, he has to have a Chaos Space Marine detachment, and therefore, he says Death of Decay stratagem to include a relic on a Death Guard character. It's like, well, yes, because you are bringing a Death Guard detachment, and you're using a stratagem to give a relic to a Death Guard character. Now, if you was to try to give that same stratagem, Death of Decay, to a Chaos Warlord or Chaos Space Marine, another detachment, I don't think that works that way. And I think, kind of, I was reading ahead as I was talking, they may ask that question next. I'm not sure, though. Question: if it is possible to use a stratagem from Codex Chaos Space Marines to target a unit from Codex Death Guard, for example, can I use the Tide of Traitor stratagem on a unit of cultists from a Death Guard detachment if I have an Alpha Legion detachment and a Death Guard detachment in a single Battle Force army? Yes. If you have access to a stratagem because you have the appropriate detachment, it can be used on any permanent target. They do not need to be from that detachment. In your example, the Alpha Legion detachment gives access to Chaos Space Marine stratagems, and Tide of Traitors can be used on any Chaos Cultist. This would include Chaos Cultists for the Death Guard. So that makes it sound like what I just said was complete hogwash. Or, as those that don't know, hogwash, like BS, not null and void, ignore what I said. Which, I don't know how I necessarily feel about that, because I get like synergies and cross-pollination of powers and stratagems and things, but that can get kind of dicey. People really exploiting some stuff. I kind of like the idea of your stratagems are your stratagems for that detachment, and unless you're bringing like 2 detachments of Chaos Space Marines, not everything is going to work. Now, I don't, again, because this example is specific, talks about Chaos Cultists in the Death Guard detachment, and Chaos Space Marines can bring Chaos Cultists because they're both in the same thing. Like, is that where that comes from? Or, like, I'd like to see a Death Guard specific, like this example, can I use this Chaos stratagem with this Death Guard specific unit that is not found in any other codex but the Death Guard? That is a question I would like to see answered. Or if you know it, or if anyone has their opinion on it, please post it up down below. I'd love to see what people's thoughts are on that one. But yeah, according to this, you can throw stratagems around at whatever you want as long as you have the detachments to access them. Alright. Question: can Poxwalkers use the Curse of Walking Pox ability to increase the unit above its starting strength? And the answer is yes. Alright. Question: if the Poxwalker Curse of Walking Pox ability increases the unit above its starting strength in a match play game, does this cost reinforcement points? Answer is no. And question: are the Biologus Putrefier's Hyper Blight grenades affected by his Blight Rack's ability? Answer: no. Not really sure what all those do, but his Blight grenades are not affected by Blight Rack ability. So, alright. Interesting. Well, in this one for sure, I'm a little confused on the whole just use on stratagems in general, not necessarily with the Death Guard thing, but and chaos, but across the board, if I have Space Marines with Space Marine stratagems and I bring a detachment of Dark Angels, and now I want to use this Space Marine stratagem on my Dark Angel units because I have the detachment and it's Battle Forged, that's okay apparently. I'm not sure if I'm a big fan of that, but that's what it is. So, all right, well, until next time.